Emulation has always been a subject filled with gray. Is it legal? Is it piracy? Yes, it is legal. No, it's not piracy, but it is more complicated than that. Emulation and emulators are completely legal to use and to make. There's nothing wrong with them. On the other hand, it's how you get the games for the emulator where legality issues come. So going to a website and downloading a ROM is illegal if you don't own the game. So what I mean by that is that if you own a copy of a game, you can make a backup of this game to play using an emulator. Now, laws on this vary where you live, so be sure to check that out. But if I own a copy of Pokemon Emerald or Super Mario Brothers, I make a backup of this game and play the game on my PC or my phone using an emulator, that is legal. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, if I didn't own the game, this would be piracy. So, emulation itself is not piracy, but it is a gray area. Now, it's much more than just playing games on platforms that game wasn't made for. Emulation can be so much more than that. It can be a way to catalog and to play old games so they don't end up getting lost and forgotten. Since you could only access these games through a physical medium, there will be a time when there's no longer a way to play these due to breaking, getting lost, even the consoles that they were for all being destroyed. Due to emulation, it's possible to back up these games digitally and then play them indefinitely. It's great. It means that no old game will go lost, will be lost forever to time. We want this, we want to keep games around. Emulation can even allow us to improve old games. This has been done with many games, and some not even that old. This can be something like increasing the frame rate, or increasing the resolution, or even adding entire new features. Thanks to the Dolphin emulator, we can play Wii and GameCube games at 1080p, 4K, even in VR now. Wind Waker in VR, guys, is incredible. This is something we would not be able to do without emulation. Now, this doesn't mean that emulation only does good. A lot of people do pirate the games they play on an emulator. Sometimes pirating the game is even the only way to get access to said game. There are old games that are impossible to buy, even some newer ones in the last decade. One example that comes to mind is the game X-Men Destiny. It was for the last generation and became part of a lawsuit. All unsold copies of this game were recalled and then destroyed. This means that you can't buy this game anymore. So there's no other way to play it unless you pirate it, or you already own it. Cases where the game can no longer be bought are common with some old games that weren't sold digitally and are only printed for a limited time. Now, I want to make something clear. I do not condone piracy, and that is not what this video is about. If it's possible to buy the game, please do it. Even playing a game through the emulator, if you can still purchase the game, you can do that and then use the emulator to play it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Even with newer games, there's the CMU emulator that allows you to play Wii U games on your PC that becomes more and more stable every day. You can go to your local GameStop, buy the Wii U game, and then play it on your PC using the emulator. There's nothing wrong with this. You're not breaking any laws or anything. That is something that I do support. I'm curious as to what everyone else thinks about emulation. Do you do it? Are you against it? I'd like to know.